For more advanced users who have been using Ultravox for a while, for example, what do you recommend they do to ensure the calls get better and better in quality, in terms of quality?
Yeah, you know what's funny is like I don't think programming is useful at all in improving the quality of calls, right? I think that because the programming is actually very simple. What matters is actually the prompting and what you give to the model. And I think that anyone can do that. I think that, but most people are not great prompt writers, is my take. They don't spend a lot of time thinking about their prompt. And I think that the way I always, it's like, I describe it to someone is that like, imagine that you met a complete stranger on the street. You had never interacted with them before. And you had to write a piece of guidance for them. And that stranger was now going to run your call center. Okay. What would you give them? Like what are the instructions that you would give them to do that? And like, imagine that you're writing for a human you've never met before, you've never talked to them before, you have no idea. And every time a call comes in, their brain is reset, right? Because that's how models work. They have no continuous learning like we do as humans. And so I think what most people end up doing is quickly trying to write the prompt, and they make a lot of assumptions in what the model knows. And you should never make assumptions of what the model knows. And this is why most people, like as you have more and more calls, you realize all of these edge cases that the model is not doing well on. And I think that what they're not realizing is that anything you don't specify in your prompt, like the model doesn't know how to handle. Just like that human off the street that you've never met before that has to answer your thing, if you don't give them guidance, they also don't know what to do. So they can either say, I don't know, or they can make something up. And models almost always make something up when they don't know, right? That's just the nature of LLMs. They hallucinate details into existence that they don't know. And so the way that you get better has nothing to do with programming. It has to do with like looking at the calls that are happening and evaluating them and trying to figure out where are the gaps in performance and then figuring out how do you fill those gaps. And there's all kinds of automated testing for this as well these days. There's like Hamming AI, Sakura, Koval. There's a number of them. And they're helpful. But I will say nothing is as helpful as you running through your calls and figuring, and then like looking at your prompt and figuring out like, why is it not doing what I want? And the beautiful thing is that you don't need any kind of programming background to be useful here. You just need the ability to speak whatever language you want the model to speak. English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Mandarin, doesn't really matter. And I think that's what's great, is you don't need any programming to do this.
And how do you start? Because prompting is for me also the most important thing in a voice agent. How could you?
And everything AI related right now, prompting is it's all prompting. We say it's prompting all the way down. It's prompts on prompts on prompts on prompts on prompts. That's all it is.
Okay, so how would you extract the perfect prompt for you? I mean, how would you start to structure the prompt?
I don't know. I've never written the perfect prompt, so I can't tell you. We only edit our way to greatness, to perfection. But I think that it's an interesting question. There have been so many great guides written on prompt writing. I'm trying to decide what I have to add. I think that good writing is good thinking in general. And so in order to write clearly, we have to think clearly. And I think most people, they tend to, I think of like, I don't know. For me, I think about when I was in school, and the teachers would have you write these essays. And you would write like a rough draft first. And then you would think about, okay, what am I trying to say? What do I want this model to do? And you kind of sketch it out first. And then you write like a more detailed draft. And then you edit it. And then you like ultimately come up with like these increasingly like clear essays that you would write in school. I view prompt writing as very similar. Like you have to know, okay, what are my goals for the agent? Okay, who is my agent? What are the characteristics that they have? What do they know about the world that I want them to know about? What is their job, right? What is your task that you've been assigned? Is it to collect information? Is it to be like, what a thing? And how can I sort of like, for each of those things that it has, am I making sure I'm being clear for each of those things? And then tools, for example. Tools are also prompting. Like the name of the tool is prompting. So for example, like the description for the tool is prompting. The response that comes back from the tool from your system is prompting, because the model will use all of this to try and make sense of what to do next. And like, I think a lot of people will end up calling their tool like, check thing. Well, how is the model supposed to know what check thing means? It has no idea. So it's not going to use that tool correctly. Or like in the tool response, it'll be like, check the thing. And again, the model's like, well, I don't know what the thing is, so that's not helpful to me. As opposed to, let's imagine like check users' account information, right? And so, okay, and the model's like, I know what to do with that. And then it returns back. And then the tool response is, here's what I found. It says, here's what I found for the customer, name, Sergio, location, Spain. You know what I mean? Like, this is the type of thing that people oftentimes I see get wrong every single day. Before this, we had to make this meeting run a little bit later than scheduled, right? We pushed back 30 minutes. Why? Because I was on a call with a customer and I was reviewing their prompts and they're making all these mistakes. The model had no idea what to do. And so I just can't emphasize enough that like you should print out your prompt and go give it to someone who has no idea what the hell you're trying to do and see if they can make sense of what you're asking of them. And if they're confused, I guarantee the model's going to be confused. And it's not, the goal is not, can they eventually figure it out? No, the goal is like, can they read it and know exactly what to do immediately? And if not, then you have a bad prompt and you should try again. That's kind of my rough litmus test. Is like, if you give it to a stranger and they don't immediately know what the hell to do, bad prompt, throw it away, try again. That's like my take.
Okay, another question about prompting. It's, for example, when you want the agent to remember everything, like the most important thing, will you consider put it in the first lines and also at the end of the prompt, and the middle is like is running out of memory? What do you think about this theory?
Yeah, I don't think it's a theory. I think this is very proven and clear. Is that that basically, I mean, the mechanism in the model is attention, and so we basically say, how well does the model attend to various bits in the prompt? And there's no denying that the model attends best to the things at the front and end of the prompt. So in general, yes, like the things in the middle are more likely to be forgotten. It's also the case that there is a very clear relationship between the length of the prompt and how effective you can be. And so tight writing matters because you're trying to be as clear as possible and be as succinct as possible. Because let's say you have a 50,000 token prompt. The model's not going to perform well against that. It's just very, very hard for the model to do well against it. Any model right now is still not great at that. And so it's certainly the case that the start and end is probably good places. But it's also slightly more nuanced than that. But that requires understanding like a little bit like what the shape of the thing is. But yes, in general speaking, the last thing that the model sees will influence it very heavily.